Alright, once we have them all nice and clean, we'll go ahead and take out our manual. And today we're using the Spear Reloading Manual, edition number 14. And this is a pretty good manual to have. Really, any will work. But anyways, we'll go ahead and turn to our 223 section, and we'll take a look at it. And let's see here. It says trim to length right here on the front page. It'll say trim to length 1.750 is what we're looking for, and the max case length is 1.760. So we're going to go ahead and trim it down to 1.750 if we need to. We'll go ahead and take out our calipers. Take those out. Turn it on and zero it. And now we'll go through each case and see how long it is and see if we need to trim or not. Okay, 1.764. We definitely need to trim that one, so we'll set him off to the side. And we'll just go through each of these. 1.765. Need to trim that one. Yeah, all these are going to need to be trimmed, it looks like. Alright, so now that we've checked to see if they need to be trimmed or not, and as it turns out all these need to be, we'll go ahead and set up our case trimmer. Alright, the case trimmer we're going to be using today is the Lyman Universal Case Trimmer, and so I'll show you how to use this one, but this will apply to pretty much any case trimmer out there. But what we'll go ahead and do is we'll take our brass, and for this one we'll just set it in there, and we'll use the pilot. It'll be number, let me find it. Use the 22 caliber pilot, and we'll go ahead and set it in there. Back out this screw right here. And that'll let us set our pilot in here. And then we can tighten this screw back down. Okay. Now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and run it up into our our case mouth, and we're going to need to trim it down, so we'll back it back out on here. We're going to loosen this up, and that'll loosen both of these up. Go ahead, run it in there, and then we run it all the way up, back it out a little bit, and we know we're going to need to trim it down a little bit, so we'll go ahead and adjust that down a little bit. Tighten this up. Tighten this up. We'll go ahead and trim and see where we're at. And it's just going to be playing with it back and forth to get it to exactly where you need it. So go ahead and trim. And trim, and you'll feel it when it starts actually cutting. Take out your brass. And this is a chamfer and deburring tool. Just run this over it to get all the edges and burrs off of it and stuff. Like that. And we'll take out our calipers again. You can see where we're at. Remember, we're looking for 1.750. So we're at 1.753 and a half. That's pretty close, but we're going to go ahead and trim it down a little bit. Now, on pretty much every case trimmer, at least the ones I've worked with, the back one right here will be for your large adjustments, and this little one will be for your minute little adjustments. So we'll go ahead and use this one since we're really, really close. Loosen this up a bit and screw it in a little bit, tighten it back up, and we'll trim it down and see where we're at. Alright, once we get it to where we want, 1.750, which is what we want, once we get it there, we'll go ahead and run through the rest of our cases since we know it's already set. Put this back up. And we can go ahead and trim down the rest of our cases. Alright, now that we have our brass nice and trimmed and resized and deprimed, what we can go ahead and do now is insert the new primer. So I'll be using the Lee Ergo Prime. It's pretty inexpensive and it works pretty good for me. So you'll use the same size shell holder that you did for your press. This one, of course, the Lee, it's going to be number 4. So what we'll go ahead and do is take the top off and then take your primers. And since we're just doing 10, I'm not going to put the whole tray in here, but Open it up. From the other side. What you do is you'll just dump it over onto your tray, and then you need them all right side up. So you just shake it a little bit, and it'll turn them all the way they need to be. You can kind of, if there's one or two, just do it with your hand. And so you have them all right side up. Put the top back on, and channel them over to this little groove over there. Then you'll just get your brass, set it in there, squeeze it, and it'll put the primer into the case. Now, what you want it to do, you want to use a pretty. You'll feel some resistance on there. You don't want to use too much. You don't want to use too much force, and you just want the primer to be just below the case head right here. You don't want it to be flush, but just a little bit seated below that. So we'll just go ahead and do that for the rest of our cases. We have them all primed now. Now what we can do, we'll take our loading block, and I'll set these in here. And I like to set them in the loading block just because it's easier. It keeps them upright, and when you put the powder in, it keeps it from knocking it over and spilling everywhere, and helps you keep track of them. But